do there with the grocery shopping?
So I used to automate every 2 weeks. I would have a weekly checklist or a fortnightly checklist and a monthly checklist. And the weekly, fortnightly checklist is like something perishables that I automate, like, okay, these are stuff that I need every 2 weeks, and the monthly checklist. So I take the offload of my, of my brain, and then put it into this, we have whatever apps that you're using, they have a shopping list, and I put it as a weekly, fortnightly, and monthly check-ins, and sometimes even quarterly. And so those are simple things that takes a lot of your energy and time.
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome, Séku, Skandan, to the Human CV.
Thank you. Kia ora, good to be here.
Yeah.
I feel honored to be here to talk with you more about myself.
Yeah, this is so cool because, Séku, you are the first person outside of my partner who heard about this idea.
I feel even more honored now. and to be part of that vision and journey was really exceptional.
Yeah.
And to know it again from you is really good.
Because what most people don't know, but now they do, is you actually are the data strategist, analyst of how do I set this up in a technical way. So I asked you, I said, Séku, I've got this idea, soft skills CV, people answer a few questions and they get it.
Yeah.
And then you and I, we had a whiteboard.
Yes.
We started scribbling and you said, what do you currently use?
Yeah.
And then I said, well, I like this kind of app and that software. And then you made that happen. And now it's a thing.
It's a thing.
And people watch it.
I know. Yeah. I've been talking about it to many people. And you're going to have a series of people from the house that I live in. Probably 15, 20 people. So who's ready to see what this means to them. So I'm delighted.
So running a session at your father soon.
Yeah, possibly. That would be great.
So this is, I thank you and Kai the most for making this thing happen because it's fizzing me. I'm so excited. I had coffee this morning, but the messages I get from people from different countries saying, oh, I've watched this person on the Human CV and I want to collaborate with them. I want to find out more.
Yeah.
It's exciting to me. You made that happen. So. Yeah. How do you usually think when someone comes to you with a challenge that they have or a goal? What do you usually scan for? Like, what are the data points that you collect when someone comes to you with a cool idea?
I think I usually look at the value system, when they're coming from a place, what is that they want to achieve? And usually when it's beyond yourself, then you're get excited by it, this is something that's going to benefit others, and that is what usually draws me to that idea. I get to put a lot more energy and stuff towards it. When people come to me, I look at that immediately, and after that I start questioning, because most of the ideas are not formed until the execution starts happening. And that's when you get to talk more about what led them to there, and more questions to understand that idea so you can support them well. And I'm a really good, a second person supporter, someone who starts an idea, and I'm a great supporter, which I've been doing all my life. And to be able to do that as a practice for the last few years intentionally has been really good, to know that I am here to support people's idea. And most of the times the execution comes to the technology part. Okay, I have an idea and I have to execute it either through an online medium or an app or a thing. And when it comes to that, I'm pretty sure, I make sure that I'm there to support them in whatever ways that is possible, in the least resources possible. That is my go-to. Yeah, I saw your brain going instantly when I asked you my challenge, and you were like, so, okay, she wants this stuff, that's her values, quick, simple, low barrier to entry, and then you were like, what does she have? Oh, she can use Notion or Google Suite, and then you puzzled it all together in your head. So I came to you with my Human CV project, and that's obviously in the area of self-knowledge and growth and learning and education. And you have other goals in your sustainable development goals that you said, at the moment for me right now, out of 17 goals, these would be my top 2. And in your case, you have number 8 and number 9. 8 is decent work and economic growth, and then 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure.
if someone came to you now and I said, I've got a project in these, like, how would you want to support them? What kind of projects do you want to do? Which one would you maybe even jump on first?
Yeah, I think both of them is connected in a similar way, actually. I think I would, for the last 10 years of my life, industry innovation infrastructure has been a great, point, because this is not about the niche element of it. It's more about the equalizing element of it. How could you take that innovation that we already have to as many people as possible? Bringing that decentralized infrastructure to people, either software or hardware or any way. So that is my practice. Industry innovation and infrastructure is my practice in the way that I see people. And decent work and economic growth, I think this is more focused on the future of work and the future of how we show up to a job and how we show up because of so many innovation and technology that's happening. The frameworks in which we do work, we show for these jobs is changing significantly and fundamentally and at the speed that we cannot keep up. So, and that means so I'm always thinking about how this future of work connected to this industry innovation combined together. And for founders, this could mean they have this crazy ideas that they want to bring out to them, and that can support the economic growth of a particular bubble, because we are all microorganisms. And when you're thinking about economy, you're thinking about the small communities and small bubbles in which. And for me, the founders, supporting the founders or organizations that is on a path to bring that industry innovation and or bring decent work to their micro communities is an important factor to me.
So that's really good, because I wanted to ask you about if you wanted to do more of those things, those projects where you support founders that are future focused, future of work focused. So this came out of the same frustration, me and the people, the work tomorrow, how do we make things happen and easier happen? And so I said, well, one roadblock I see, and it's frustrating me, is the current way we do recruiting and CVs and meeting people and actually getting to know them and not just, what do you do, Séku?
And one of my biggest purposes of me being here is people, for me in the last year, I've had a lot of job prospects and my challenges, but to understand how people are not seen for their actual skills, but for some paperwork and some numbers is a kind of a differentiator. I think we've lost that human touch in getting to know people and understanding the willingness to learn rather than what you're currently knowing or had experiences. So that willingness to learn or willingness to grow, and that is discounted in the process of the technology, ATS or AI application systems. Or so that's why I'm Human CV is a great project to change that and come back to its roots.
Oh, that's really cool. Because I wanted to know if you do more of those things and support the founders who think about innovation and using apps in different ways and using technology to support that new way of working together, creating things. Then, so I saw the roadblock, CVs don't work. When you look at, I want to work for founders that think about the future of work, what other blocks are currently in the way? Why are you not meeting them? Are you not sure where they are? Do they have no clear communication streams? What is often the challenge when you want to support a founder who has an innovative idea and you want to support them, but what is often their frustration or pain point, or yours, in finding them or helping them?
I think most of them, people, the first is the idea in itself. I have this mad vision, mad idea. I don't know how to execute it in a way. That becomes a huge thing. And the second one is is there's so much of time, so limited time that we have, and people want to do impactful work, for ideas, giving a workshop or giving that is not my core value, but they can actually automate many of their everyday activities, so they can save up a lot of time, resources, energy that can be focused on the human-centered approach, and their entrepreneurship or ideas. And that means you are talking about saving about at least 5 to 10 hours a week. And that is a huge when you're coming to a founder, you have finite numbers in a week, and especially if you're a mom, if you're if you're having multiple crazy jobs to support your family, or restricted resources, you want to make it easier. And what I see this as, how do we automate processes? How do we automate our life, like, you know, so that we can focus on the most important aspects of it. And when it comes to the founders, it's even more there, because I want them to work on their crazy ideas, and the organization, like, you know, if it's 5 to 10 hours for the founders, then it's even more for the organizations when you do
multiply
it. So that's the kind of, you know, how do we use this technology in a meaningful, everyday way to save time and resources, rather than saying that, like, you know, so that is my topmost. And then if they have a crazy idea, then I workshop with them to bring them using technology, either as a website or an app, and to bring them to the fold. So there's two folds of approaches that I take with people.
Yeah, and the time-saving aspect applies to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it could be the parent who's got a ton of things on their mind and they still want to execute on a passion project or have to do it at their work. And then you can just come in there and you almost take a sort of an eagle eye or helicopter look, you know, this really bird's eye perspective of, okay, they've got these things available, they want to do that, this is too expensive right now or takes too long time, how can we just shave it all off and make it work?
Yeah.
So what is a process right now in your day-to-day life that you would love to automate but still not happening right now? Is it the commute? Is it, you know, grocery shopping? Or,
I think we live in a city that needs very little commute, which I'm grateful for. I think for me personally, I've automated most of my life. I think in the ways, like, you know, right from grocery shopping, I have a recurring, at least I used to when I was in the peak of my state, but I've just fallen off, to be honest.
What did you do there with the grocery shopping?
So I used to automate every 2 weeks. I would have a weekly checklist or a fortnightly checklist and a monthly checklist. And the weekly, fortnightly checklist is like something perishables that I automate, like, you know, okay, these are stuff that I need every 2 weeks, and the monthly checklist. So I take the offload of my, like, you know, of my brain and then put it into this, like, you know, we have whatever apps that you're using, they have a shopping list, and I put it as a weekly, fortnightly, and monthly check-ins, and sometimes even quarterly. And, like, you know, also if you want to get a whey protein, like, you know, automate it every 3 months, so I don't have to think about it, like, you know, okay, cool, this is there. And so those are simple things that takes a lot of your energy and time. And if I want to cook, I have a huge recipe list, like, you know, for my personal stuff that I can cook. I'm also creating, I live in a big house of 20 people, so I'm starting to create a big whole like, you know, a vegan 20 people that can eat. And that means you're taking the cognitive offload of your everyday tasks and making it resourceful in other ways and forms that you need. So grocery is just an example, like, you know, and I use calendar a lot, like, you know, even for catching up with people, I have started putting into my calendar so that I know that I catch up with them every fortnight, and, like, you know, and I catch up with them every month, and based on if they have this idea called roots, branches, and leaves, and I put them into based
boxes.
on how into
the
boxes. Sorry guys, you're watching this.
There's your direct approach. Sorry saying is over here.
It's not that I don't love you. I love you all equally, but everyone has a finite time, and how do you make the best out of it? So that way it takes away the guesswork, and you can focus on the other areas of your life. And I used to be at the prime of a year ago, but I'm just getting back to it again.
Yeah, this interview is timeless. You know, you watch it when your future self needs a boost from past self.
And or like, hey, you told me that in the past and you haven't done it. So I have an accountability buddy too. This
is so funny because I used to do the recurring grocery shop online stuff, and I also fell off. I actually used it in a time when I was living very remotely, and it took me about an hour to drive to the nearest supermarket. So I had my non-perishables delivered on a recurring, like you said, all the staples you got in your pantry and in your fridge, and I should get back to that, at least for some of the staples.
Exactly. I stopped it during the COVID times because more people, vulnerable people needed it.
Good point.
I think that was the time I was doing it consistently until 2020 or 2021, and then I stopped because more people needed it, and then I was not able to get back to it again for a few years.
So from next week on, we do grocery orders.
We do grocery orders. Yes, fantastic.
That's so good. Yeah, and I want to have a quick look. I know we're more storytelling kind of people, but I still want to spend a second on a few of the keywords and percentages. You and I, we're both ENFP when it comes to those 16 personality tests.
Right.
Now, what happened in my life, I used to be ENFP for 12 to 38 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
you changed.
since then I tested, most of them came with ENFJ. So
Right.
I switched from the perceiving NF type to the judging in terms of, having a calendar, having a
Calendar, yeah.
recurring grocery order. You told me a little secret. It was the opposite for you.
Yeah.
When, how, what, how did you know?
This was for 16 personalities, one of the earliest tests that I got to know. And every time I did it, I used to do it 3 times because the one time you could be skewed. So I started doing it 3 times. And usually the 2 out of 3 would be ENFJ. And that's the time I needed more control in my life. I needed to do this in this particular thing. And then now the last year, I think I moved on to 2 out of my 3 tests comes out around ENFP, which is a significant change that I've realized. And when reflecting back on it, it was more about how my journey was, from being an immigrant, trying to go around in the world, but still trying to be making sure that you're in control of your story and your ideas and opportunities in a lot of ways. And when you're on the other side of that, I'm a permanent resident of New Zealand, to have that space, within me to hold and rest and relax and rejuvenate and, reflect on my entire life, I've realized, I just want to be more focused on a little bit of spontaneity. And I think of it as a creative freedom. I think I've always been helping for others' creative freedom, and this was the time I'm putting energy onto that creative freedom. So I still have some strong traits of ENFJ, but it's showing up to be ENFP. I think it's just how the journey has shaped the last few years.
That's cool, because there's still an element of that ENFJ in you in terms of, the really ability and or desire to plan, to have some structure that allows you to free up the rest for play. But now the focus is more on play because you have set up those structures, or you've played with some and discarded some. Again, that's obviously part of the journey. Cool, love that. And the other one that stood out in your CV that I hadn't seen before was a person that has leadership and teamwork in their top 5. So some people think, well, either you're a leader or you're a follower, either you're a team player or you're a solo journeying cowboy, this into the wild by myself. In what way do they show up in your past projects, past careers, friendships even so far? Do you have a strong group of leaders around you and strong group of teams? Or you mentioned before you live in a house with 20 people, so there's leadership and there's teamwork. Can you riff on those keywords?
I think when I did the VIA strength, this was the first time I was blown away by the top 5 because that resonated with me so well compared to the others. I think many of that was sometimes innate to me. The fairness and kindness piece was always innate to me, that I was able to recognize very early on. And the leadership and teamwork took a lot of time to actually get out because I was not working in teams when I was starting out, because I was rebellious in a lot of ways. So I was I wanted to go out and do my own thing. So I had my own startup and own companies and did the work. But then you tend to understand how you collaborate and nurture in each other's relationship, and you focus on the teamwork side. And then but every time people would always say the leadership, you are a leader, you are a leader, and I wouldn't accept it. It's I'm not a leader. What do you mean? I just like to be below the stuff. I don't want to be in the front, and leader is someone who has to be in the front, based on the traditional notions of leadership is. And then recently, I think I was part of a Tefariki by Leadership Lab. It's a kind of an intersectional leadership group. And they changed the way that I started thinking about leadership, leadership with a small L and a capital L. And the small L is connected to the community leaders, who is always backed, but they are the backbone of that project or idea or the collective, and the traditional leadership that is taught. So I started believing in that in a lot of ways, as a cap with the L, with a small L. And many of these things, I think I also live with a 20 people house, it's a big community that I live in, and many of these values are also enhanced by seeing people show up in the way of being kind to each other, and showing up that teamwork, and showing the appreciation of beauty, and and people around us. So I think I've created the journey in which I've worked with people to highlight that fact, and I also live with people who is constantly reminding me of the best ways that you can exist in the world, and that has all become my strengths, that I have started realizing it more now, and intentionally, and practicing that as well. There's a piece to knowing, and the ways to piece to practice it, and I started practicing it, taking ownership of those strengths. So it's been a good journey.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because you live it every day. If you have 20 people around you, there needs to be basics done, like who's using the washing machine,
exactly.
or who's doing the cooking, and some people can't eat this, how do we adapt our recipe base? Do you know more about the behind the scenes of the 20 people house? How is it organized? How do you guys communicate? Because where there's people who's watching who have 20 employees, and their structures are in shambles. Now you are going, I've got everything automated, child's plays. How does it work at the 20 people house?
I think it was the most important factor is the emotional intelligence of people, to be able to care and place their curiosity, and because it's an everyday thing rather than go to work from 9 to 5, there's so much more friction points when you're living with 20 people. So how do you come out and attempt to connect with each other and try to reduce the conflicts, and using nonviolent communication as a means to show up with the curiosity and get to know about people. And we use different ways to do that. I think Slack is one of the ways that we use to connect with 20 people, because there's so much, it runs as a team in itself. And we go for retreats where people put on workshops, so that we have this idea of conflict resolution, or living sustainably, and looking forward to our inner growth, and supporting others journey as well. So there's so many things that we do that support each other and works as an everyday team, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. 24 hours. And with so many people's energy or full time, and some people are part time, and some people are very intense work, and some people have morning routines and evening routines. So you are thinking of a holistic microorganism, and that way, the way that you're showing up shows the kind of strengths and skill set, highlights and emphasizes on that, and builds on it.
Yeah. So how long have you been in this living environment? Since when is 20 other people's in my home a reality for me? When did you start that move in there?
I think I used to come from I come from a collective society, so we have this we need to have a big shared sense of belonging or so, and our generation lost that because of globalization and going out of the country to look for different ambitions and opportunities. And every time I would join a company, it was I want I want this team to be my sense of belonging, and then I will put a lot of energy and effort into it. But then when you come back, it's gone, 9 to 5, it's those times when you come back. And that's one of the reasons why when I first started my first company, I had a photography and media company, and we actually lived together. So we lived and worked together. So that was my first sense of community. It's oh my God, look at this. I get to work with this beautiful, intelligent and creative humans, but also get to share everyday moments as well. So the search for belonging has always been there through my teamwork. So every time I see teamwork come up, it's my search of belonging. How can I create this and nurture each other? And when I came to Christchurch, a few people wanted to live beyond the normal existence of life, our flatmates. It's how can we share that intentional living together? And that became a huge thing, because it's just not about 9 to 5 teamwork. It's more about coexistence. It's more about 24 hours of living and breathing our values, or at least trying to breathe our values intentionally. And that was the story of my belonging. And I felt really serendipitous to have found that in a way.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never lived with this many people. The maximum number I had was 6 other flatmates, but it was not intentionally curated. So it's we would be more on the respectful side of things in terms of low noise, low smells, like you're not taking over the kitchen because there's 6 others sharing with me. But there was never a hui, like a proper conversation around values. There were no, most of the people, not all, it always changed a lot as well. And so most of the people didn't have a true commitment to the place, which I did not have. I wanted it as a base where I am not just using one kitchen for myself or one washing machine. It made no sense.
Yeah, of course.
And I came after travels back to Christchurch, and I just wanted a starting place that is strategically well located. So I'm like, this fits.
Yeah.
I can share some of the stuff that I don't use full time.
Yeah.
But I do not start creating intentionally with them or building friendships. And so you are currently in a space that's the complete opposite of that. It's like super intentional, and you select the people that come in. And if people who want to join the house had a human CV and presented it to you and says, hey, I want to move in, what would you scan for first? Would you scan for the values? Would you scan for what they've experienced before?
Oh yeah, I think all of them just make sense. Like, it just gives a sense of, we have our own set of questions.
Yeah, what do you ask them? What do you ask people?
We have like set of like 10 to 15 questions. I think that is centered around their personalities, their journeys, and the things that they have nurtured or they would contribute in a meaningful way, and the conflict resolution side of it. And and how do you solve conflicts between people, and also like some silly questions thrown in, like, what is the best way to have a toast? Sorry, that was a question that is out of the, this is a secret question. But like, how do you present your toast or things like that to make it silly? But I think this actually gives a lot of like, and not just for the house, like, but for the general workplace in itself, these are the stuff that people need to be looking at. Like, for me, I think of it, this gives a comprehensive profile of them rather than like, and what it means to them, because it's easier for people, for workplaces or like, places of living to actually look at this and actually align with their values in a great way. But we don't have opportunity to know about them deeper. Like, maybe in a workplace, it takes 1 or 2 years to understand their values.
Yeah.
And by the time you're already a team and you're already like, struggling with each other, it's like, I don't know what it is for you, what it is for you. I remember doing a leadership program, not a leadership program, but kind of all our employees were present, and we did some of the personality test, and like, we had our own session. And that was the actual time I was working with them for 3 or 4 years by that time. And to do that at that point, I was like, oh my God, I know that about you, but it hasn't registered in my head in the same way. And now I know what to look after you, and how to present you, how to communicate, like, and receive feedback. And like, it's a kind of a great way to understand your team and learn about each other. And that means in day one, you can solve many of the frictions that might come in.
Yeah,
like,
prevent so much.
Like, we are focused on like, we are not focused on more preventative tools, and we focused on like, after something has happened, how do we go and solve this?
Yeah.
So this is what I would say.
And you said before also that the focus, you bring in people who do workshops, or you ask people in the house to deliver workshops on certain topics that will be like continuous professional development. How do we have conversations, or in what way shall we deal with waste? I think that many people have slid somehow into the role of I'm running a business, but they've never even experienced half of those ground things, like whether it's a CV that looks inside yourself, or having conflict resolution talks at work, or even talking about time management and how do you set up automated system to free up for creative fun, and playfulness, and just, what could we do here? And should we have a funny question in our interview intakes? By the way, what is the best way to have a toast?
I mean, it's not a good, like, it depends on how you're going to, it's your perspective, it captures your perspective. If you have like a medium toast, or like in a very little or high, and then avocado toast or peanut toast, there's so many things, layers to the toast that you can understand your soul.
So how do you answer this? What is your favorite? Is it like large avocado, small with peanut butter? Like
I think peanut. Mine would be like, I don't know, it's been a long time since I answered this question.
I've never heard that question. I want to analyze it.
So I look at like in a toast with a medium to like more than medium. Like it's probably like 70%, 72%. toast, toasted, and then a good spread of multi-seed, peanut butter or almond butter is great,
yeah.
and then an avocado on top, or tuna if you're non-vegan. It's great.
I never had the combo almond butter, avocado, and tuna.
Oh no! I mean, you should try, or you can remove one of those, and it's always good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never thought about the perfect toast, but now I will start thinking about toast for a moment.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously you get a really good feeling about people by the way how they answer it, how long, how complex they think, and maybe even finding similarities and having a giggle, like, oh, you do this weird thing with your spreads.
Yeah. Silly things.
Awesome, sweet. Yeah. So we're literally moving now from leadership and teamwork within the house. For you, it's a 24/7 thing. But when I asked you, when the human CV field asked about the past projects or workplace you loved, not everybody puts in as much detail and as varied amount of projects and past experiences as you have. You got 4 very different ones.
Yeah.
And the 2 that stood out to me a bit more than the others, because I think if I ask you about them, they will resonate with most of our viewers, because they're passionate about sustainability, they're passionate about culture and stories and mixing, mingling, diversity. You had 2 projects in there.
Yeah,
one was
Arorangi,
and one was the Repair Revolution.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me, as if I was 12, what was that one about and what was that one about in like a sentence or 2 on each?
Yes, this is great. I get to share this with more people now. I think Arorangi is a project funded by the Ministry of Education, and we worked with Maui Studios, one of the first leading Maori studios in all of New Zealand. And augmented reality is a technology that used to bring stories and ideas to your tabletop. If you're wondering what that is, if you see of movies Leia, like a Star Wars movie where a hologram is projected, or like a Family Guy or a different guy where he has his glasses on, like Ryan Gosling, and he walks through the things. But it's more like a hologram, but through a glass. I think more people would know what augmented reality is now. But this is more about, we have had stories, indigenous stories, spoken and passed down for years and generations and centuries. And this was a really cool experiment to bring those stories into a modern future medium through augmented reality. And we worked with Maori Studios, who worked with many of these EVs around the country to bring about 10 or 12 stories, and we worked them to bring it online with our team. And each story is different. And each story has its own ethics, has its own way of looking at their EVs and practices and culture, and to bring them all together, and then an ability to add more if more EVs and more stories are being formulated, was a really cool project, because it's more like it's a Netflix of AR indigenous storytelling app built in New Zealand by local humans, and that was exciting for me, because now the oral stories that was so old and ancient and sacred is now moving to the future. And how I see this as big value is how the kids that's growing up, they get to see the story, but they've lost touch with their identity and with their culture and family, and they are seeing I just don't know if this is mine, or I feel ashamed if this is mine. And technology is something either gaming or any technology, when they see it's oh, this is future, and they get excited by it. And to be able to see this, actually, we went around a couple of schools and demoed it to the kids, and kids just loved it.
Yeah.
And to be able to see their passion ideas, and to know that their identities and the stories, and there's pride that they get to have when this is being used, is a huge thing. It's we are just a tiny part of, I was just grateful to be a tiny part of this thing that happened. So that was one project. The second one was Repair Revolution. Again, I focus on all the time grassroots, collective, there's so much power to what we can do and what we can't, which is very little. So we worked, since 2020, we worked on this project with community members, where they bring in everyday items, mostly technology and gadgets, that is thrown out to the landfill, just as if if a battery doesn't work, or if a screen doesn't work. So to be able to bring that and to be able to repair them and to be able to teach some of the people how to do that for themselves was a significant, huge project. And it didn't stop there. The community got merged with the Repair Cafe, and it had a big following. And to be able to convert that practice, community grassroots practice, into a policy was one of the huge achievement. I was not directly part of it towards the end, but then to be able to see that go into the Consumer Guarantees Act, the Right to Repair Amendment Bill was good, and it's passed. It's waiting for more information to do. And that kind of brings a lot of personal satisfaction to me in terms of bringing these diverse cultural stories, but also a collective, sustainable future that is focused on tech as well.
That's amazing. I've never heard of Repair Revolution, but I did connect with different repair cafes throughout the country and even overseas. We have many opportunities where people put their thinking cap on and say, how can we solve it? Not necessarily always with direct impact on the legal structure, but hey, this is the ultimate. When that happens, it is extra exciting. What have you, from your time with, especially with Repair Revolution, what are some items that people may not really consider, but they get broken all the time, or people bring them in for repairs a lot? I can only, the most I have seen was bikes and lawnmowers for some reason in the repair cafes that I was, but what did you experience?
I think I was in a digital and software hardware department of gadgets. I think I saw a lot of phones that is not being used because a battery was dead or a screen was there, and it takes $20, $30 to replace that, and that was really a lot. And we do get a lot of other laptops and other techs that's not been used for 10, 15 years, from medicinal world. Hey, this is something that I've had, can you repair it? But most of the time it's just something that we commonly use, just the phones, because the shelf life of it has reduced so much. 2 to 3 years is what people are holding on to now anymore. It used to be 7, 8 years, and it started I remember having my first iPhone and for first laptop for so many years, and there's a lot of consumerism towards a point where people are starting to recycle this every 2 to 3 years, just because something didn't work or a port didn't work. But it's going back to our ancestors, how they tried to tweak something when something didn't work, try to. I used to kid my grandpa when he used to carry this really bag, just like a New World or Pack and Save bag that he used to carry all the time, even when we're not going somewhere out. You just carry it under his thing when we're walking, and it's you used to ask him, why are you doing this? Why are you carrying this? It's we're not going shopping, but what if we did? And to see how they thought about life and the consumption and of us, and to be able to get to a generation where I was promoting plastics to my to my mom. It's why do you have to go? It's let's go and can I get a new plastic bag? But then the more you grow, and then the more you realize, actually they had a really good sustainable practice. It's just us taking that and applying that to a different medium makes a lot of sense.
It does. It's where is currently when you talk about this initiative turning into something useful for many people, my head jumped back to something you talked about earlier when you were in a leadership program called Tefariki, and you spoke about leadership with a little L, small L. It's the grassroots organizations like those who notice first, why do we replace phones every 2 years? Why not 7? Just challenging those, or the bag that you said. Where else? This is your time now to give a shout out to organizations I may have not experienced yet, where you have seen leadership with a small L is done really well. Is it a community center you've looked out for, or is it a healing and well-being place? You say, they're using sustainable materials that are locally grown, or what kind of leaders with a small L, local grassroots stuff, should people know more about? What are some exciting projects you've seen here in Christchurch or in New Zealand in general?
Oh my God, there's a lot.
I know, you would have a million.
I don't know where to start. But I think what I can say to that is Christchurch is very interconnected in a lot of ways, and there's so much of local leaders in here that I haven't been able to see in many ways. Or they're there, but I was not able to see them jump up to me, that than it was in Christchurch. Everywhere that I go, like, Erica, who has been part of, like, SN, she's one of my really great inspiration, and, like, and person that I resonate so well. Like, she was one of the earliest person that I know when I moved to the city, and to see the welcoming side and the connected, like, she's a bridge builder to be able to connect with different people. It's like, okay, cool. And then I had a person called Peter Wells, who doesn't live here anymore, unfortunately, but he was the one who actually connected with many more people around the city, and they had, like, a lot of projects within themselves, like, just people like that, but they are not doing something in a very big organization or something, but they are, whatever they are doing was really impactful for the city that people don't recognize, and it's the ability for us to look around those leaders with the small L, and they are around us, like, how do we acknowledge them, how do we support them, how do we, like, encourage them, like, in a different ways, is so important. And Christchurch is doing it right, but there's still so many places that we can do well.
Yeah, awesome. If any of the current Christchurch businesses, leaders, companies that you maybe admire or say, oh, that's so cool that they are from here.
Yeah.
Who would you want to support next? If they had a cool project, a decent budget for that, and they say, Séku, can you help us with saving time or automating things? Like, which business pops to mind? Or maybe a product you've seen being developed here and you're like, ooh, I would love to help these guys out.
I used to work with a lot of startup guys, like, who's become big now. I think there are still a lot of good organizations, like Environmental Canterbury is, like, something that, like, resonate with the work that they're doing. And there's not a lot of organizations popping up to my head, but I think I'll start remembering once I'm out of this.
Yeah.
But I think, like, companies that is focused on a bigger mission, bigger purpose, like, outside of that, definitely resonates so much well with me. I think the things that I'm attracted to, either you're focusing on your, like, helping others' purpose, or, like, a planet or people, like, you're caring for these three things.
Yeah.
It's like profit is always going to be at the bottom of it. Like, it's a pillar, but that shouldn't be the only thing. When I'm attracted to organization, like, who's focused on any of these three on top of the profit. Okay.
So I'm understanding also that means, so some people have your same intention of helping people, planet, and profit, the triple bottom line, helping sustainable companies, supporting grassroots or minorities. There's often the flavor or the statement even that these people make, and they say, I'd never work with the large corporates. I'd never, work for Shell or for this large supermarket because they are not small and grassroots. Do you have the same stance, or are you like, no, I would help Shell if I have a good impact there?
Yeah, I think I've had sorry to cut you off. I had a really large, the values conflict within yourself. Like, should I do that? Because I had a good opportunity in Australia to work for a mining company, like, and then it was a great pay. But I was like, my values was like being frictionless. It's like, I can't do this. I'm going to be like, doing harm to those values. But the last year I've taken a different approach in terms of maturity. Like, not that I've always worked with different people all the time, but there's always a time, is that the right? You start to question it every time. But the last year has been significant in a way. I started looking at, okay, what if I'm working for this company? What if I'm working for any company? I can bring my own set of values. I can bring my own set of impact. Like, if I'm working in a mining company or a construction company, I go there and create something that is more meaningful, that can take away some resource or carbon footprint from that. And it's actually made me more empowered in a way, like, meaning like, great. And it's also opened up my opportunities because you can choose which value to apply in which places, in which degrees.
Yeah.
Not that it's not taking away from you, like, I think like you can be low on fairness on sometimes, but if something else is coming up, then you can choose that. This is something that I had good conversation with Erica about as well, like, and like, how do you turn this and things. So that is the way that I see, which means I'm open to everything, and then I bring my own set of values. And mostly organizations and people, when they look at their resources and like, and the outcomes, they're happy with anything that you propose.
That's true. If you presented one, have the numbers back it up,
and then saying that, hey, we can go for this cloud service, or we can go for this ethical, like, and resource less intensive cloud services, and people are like, oh, great. It's like a $2 extra, then it's good. Let's go for it. And I feel like that's the way you start to create impact. You can't in the last year you can't be on a small bubble. You got to be out there and bringing your personality and your values and trying to see how people can reflect and resonate with that.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And like you said, it starts with small things, small actions. Like someone thought of we should have repair revolution, and then months, years, I don't know how long it took from this to we changed the law, but they did.
Yeah,
doesn't
they did.
matter. And they didn't wake up in the beginning and say we want to change the law. They just say we want to fix a few more phones that get thrown away.
Yeah,
that's
and
how it starts.
So many community members in that, like who did not need anything from this. There's no outcome. It's more like we are working towards a cause. It's a volunteering cause. How can we do better for our society? And just that one person or one collective thinking about this changes the way that we care for our planet, people, or purpose.
Yeah, that's so good. I want to have you talk a little bit more on, because again, like in the other fields of the human CV, you also went all in the people, books, or courses that shaped me. And then just last minute before we started actually chatting and recording, you made notes, you crossed out some. So with your new refined human CV, with your own notes there, tell me about one of these books. What is it about? Why should I read it? What is the benefit it would give me that it gave you? Like, take your pick and just start riffing on something that I may have never heard about.
Yeah, I think these are some of the books that shaped me into becoming who I am. So maybe I'm not sure if it resonates with people, but The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, brought out the rebellious side of me. I lived in a collectivist society, and it showed up. It taught me the individualistic and rebellious side and how to be unapologetic about it. And The Kite Runner taught about forgiveness for me. And The Alchemist, I was traveling around the country, India. Like, India is a big train network. I used to travel a lot. And every time people would say, why are you traveling, so much? And, and what is the purpose or meaning that you have? That is a book that taught me there is meaning in wandering. There is some purpose in believing something as such. And Wings of Fire from APJ Abdul Kalam gave me a purpose, there's an important quote that he used to say, the dreams are not something that you get when you sleep. Dreams are something that doesn't let you sleep.
Yes, nice. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's one of my earliest memories of a quote that I resonate so much deeply with. But actually, these are the books that connected with me in my childhood, to shape our childhood or adulthood, shape me. I think the more I would recommend is I Contain Multitudes. It's a story, it's a science fiction, science story. It's a science book that is focused on spirituality. It talks about how infinitely connected we are as through microbes, bacteria and things. And it takes a grandeur view of life, because sometimes what we forget is how we connected. You talk about empathy, but we don't know what is connecting us. It's not just events or places or things. It's our microbes that's traveling with us. It just was humbling in a way. It's a science book, but also a spirituality book. And I just fell in love with it. If I would just recommend someone to that.
Which one was the science and spirituality focused
I Contain
on?
Multitudes.
I Contain Multitudes. Oh, the one you crossed out. Now
Yes.
I see it. Okay. I have not seen that one before, so it goes in my library wish list.
Yeah, I think that's a book that also talks about multitudes, because when I was growing up, you have to take one hat. You have to be a digital marketer, or you have to be this, and you have to be a web developer or this. You cannot be multiple things, because people would get confused. That was the story of my life, even until my last job. One of my last employees, you need to tell what it is you are. While I understand where they're coming from in terms of the clarity, but it also limits you in the way that you can take, because we humans are generous humans, are curious beings, and we take on different hats, a friend and workshop designer, or a website developer, or community builder, and this actually talks about those multitudes. How can you own up that multitudes in a way?
Yeah.
But that's the one that I would actually choose, because the others are connecting to my personal journey and faith. Maybe this would connect to everyone's
Sweet.
in a way, and how we are all connected to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the message. That's the message that we need to have. That's the core, like, reminder that we all need to have in 2025 when we are recording this. Like, we are all connected. We
That's
just
so
need to
true.
know.
Yeah, and it's funny because the multitudes of microbes, bacteria, you know, we're just a trillion, I think it is a number, I heard, a trillion microbes.
Yeah.
That's just a blob of, you know,
Yeah.
bacteria and other little creatures that make up most of our emotional and physical appearance.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly,
And so,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true that I heard that massage practitioners and body workers who use hands-on modalities, they can tell whether they work with, let's say, you can be a massage therapist for people who are very sick and are going through maybe a microbial challenge or a hormonal challenge or whatever it is. And then you have the same massage therapist who the main clients are athletes, sportsy, fit, healthy, energetic people. And they say, for when they work hands-on with medically very sick, very ill people, they feel they have, you know, more illnesses showing up in their own life because the microbes jump back and forth and the energetic fields mingle. And so the person who might have the same, what do you do, a massage therapist, might have a completely different microbial field because they work with athletes and powerful, energetic, healthy people. Yeah.
And the touch is meaningful. Like, you know, that's why when we shake hands, you're passing
mix
on
microbes.
Mixed microbes, and that's our shared story. That's our shared memory. Like, you know, we might not remember it, but the microbes remember it.
Yeah.
And that's why COVID was a big thing. You know, it's like, okay, it's going to be everywhere, and you think of it a positive side, it can be a positive, really positive, impactful effect too.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Well. That's why when people go to a certain spiritual places or really, like, you know, sacred, like co-created houses or things, like, you know, you can see that intention, like, you know, not just coming out of this, but also coming out of these microbes being invited to people. You have a different perspective towards life and people.
They impact you so much, even on a physical level, not just our mental energies that we mix. We know more and more about those things, or more people know about these things.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I have, starting from this interview on, a new little thing that's currently popped in my head. And I'm curious to see how you would think about that, because I have a plan. I'm not going to say it on camera just yet, what I told you before, but I have a cheeky little plan that includes everybody who has been on the Human CV so far, and a little game, or maybe a workshop, or maybe a big competition thing to see how creative and how adaptive people are. But to do that, I will ask you and the others. I recently picked up this piece of paper. I just had to do some printing, some stationery stuff, and there was one of those planners and journaling things and calendar things that should motivate people to do stuff. And most people want to do cool stuff. I rarely meet people who wake up in the morning and say, I want to be bored today. I was like, okay, if I asked my friends, my connections, my people, my guests, if you had to create a challenge for yourself, that means every day I'm doing something and it will be super good for you, whether it's for your body or for your mind. Maybe you want to be more consistent in your creative output, or you want to be more organized with grocery shopping, or you want to kick a habit and maybe start a new one in terms of your physical movement or a certain diet, whatever people go into. And there's a reward at the end. You have to do it every day for 30 days, so it can't be crazy big. It has to fit in no matter what. What would you create in the next 30 days if you could pick a physical or a mental goal and a reward? What would you do with this 30-day challenge template? I
think I'd choose to journal because a blog post sounds like a big, like the publish button has a lot of responsibility, I know, and then that means that you have to put in a lot more work, and that might scare you off. I think journaling is something that I've enjoyed and loved, and I've been missing a lot. And some of the things that I journal can also be a blog post, but I think the idea of a journal, 1-page or 2-page journal every day for 30 days is something that I would just appreciate in my life currently, and to have that to have that consistency and to get back onto the rhythm with my habit. And if something works, then I can also publish, you know. So I think that would be a great...
Gathering 1 page at a time, And by the end of the month, we blink and you have 30 pages to publish.
30 pages no! 30 pages to read for yourself, but maybe one or two to publish. I don't know. Let's see.
I journal Not every day, but it comes in little bursts.
Yeah.
And in the end, I mean, if you are publishing a book, who says that you can't just start with publishing it for yourself? You know, that's what a journal is in a way. It's like, what do you want to capture and what memories do you want to preserve for the future? Like the Maori indigenous stories that you worked on that were translated now for AR devices and for people could experience the stories, even if, the grandfather has long gone, can't tell them anymore. This is pretty much the same, just pen and paper for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things the journal I think about is like, everyone has a story to tell, and I'm at a place of putting chapters into this, what the story, just for myself, like in a personal reflection and for reflecting on it. So that is something that I'm looking at. What is this, I'm in a very sanctuarious, reflective space in my life, and to be able to look at my journey for the last 20 years and to put different, chapters in it. It's something that I'm excited for, and that I can have it for my personal, and then maybe if I become famous one day, then I can get to publish it, or who knows?
Once you're famous, you're on the Human CV.
Yes.
The biggest channel in personal and self-development.
Exactly.
Future Jen, just note taken.
Wish for what you are, it might happen true.
No, I make stuff happen.
Great.
Of course, I've got a 30-day challenge. Yeah. The next part, so you would say, write one page journal every day?
Yeah.
That's your commitment?
Yeah, at least one page.
And if you had a person, it does not have to be a person I know, so it doesn't have to be a public figure, maybe it's a friend or your grandmother, to support you in this 30-day challenge. Who would you pick and why? Who comes to mind?
I think people would have known about the Atomic Habits. It's a famous book. It's become too mainstream now. But
what does it mean? It's too good?
It's too good.
Why are you rejecting it?
But I think I love the author of it, James Clear. He comes with a lot of good wisdom and also kind of compassionate accountability. In a way, instead of saying that, do this, do that, or you are just I just get exhausted by it. But looking at the way that he presents the ideas, he'd be a great mentor for anyone, honestly, but definitely for me.
So let's say you would start on this challenge. It's day 12. You haven't broken your streak. There's 12 pages in your journal. You keep on track. Day 13 happens and you're just wiped out. Your battery's at 5%. You're not humaning on that day.
Yeah.
And James shows up and the journal is in his hands. What would James say to you to actually get you going again?
I think I'm repeating myself here. I think he would focus on the consistency is more important than the intensity of the stuff. If you can do one page, that's okay. Or if you have time for just half a page, do it. Or 30 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter as long as the consistency is there. And that would be a great reminder from him.
Do you currently have a nice journal, one that you love writing into?
I usually do all of my online journal through Notion because I can look into different moods and stuff between each other. That I also enjoy typing than writing for some sake. But I think I do that. And
so then, how long would you roughly think it takes to write one page in a journal?
I think 30 minutes. I think so. Yeah. I do a lot of edits in the way that I present my words and refine some of the thoughts. So at least 40 minutes. Yeah. It gives me a good space to quiet down and think about and write something from my mind. Yeah. 45 minutes is a really good block.
And it would be if I think of 30 pages, it's also, there's chapter lengths in books are from one page to however long, right? So there's no rules. By the end of 30 days, you have 30 pages, whether that's a small book in itself, whether it's a series of blog posts, whether it's just an essay for your future self of what you have distilled. Doesn't matter. It's super valuable for you. Yeah.
I think I actually am excited, to give it a try. Because I do it weekly now, but now this is going to mean a lot more to me and connect with my thoughts.
So with James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, one of the main things is there is a cue, a trigger.
Yeah.
That makes you go and do your promised thing. So say, when this happens, then I will sit down and do my half-an-hour journal page.
Yeah.
What would that be for you?
The trigger.
Like after I brush my teeth, or after I have my coffee, or when I have my morning coffee, or whatever.
I think it will be mostly night, because I'm more creative and open and vulnerable in the night, like, you know, to reflect and do it. So it will be mostly in the night before I go to bed or something. In terms of a thing, I like to hold my cup. Like, you know, I have a trigger in the morning for my morning coffee. So when I look into this, it just holds it. It becomes my totem. So and that kicks me in. Maybe I need to. I also have a tea, like a nighttime tea that I used to do. So maybe I go back to my really precious nighttime tea, and that could be a trigger point for me to remember to do this.
Create a tea.
Create a tea. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
And if you have completed it all, 30 days, maybe you slipped and some days are just half pages. So what, right?
Yeah,
You've
so
done
what?
a lot more
Yeah.
than if you hadn't started that new habit. What would be a nice reward for you at the end to say, yeah, I mean, it's already a reward to have done this thing. But
Yeah, I think, just pampering myself and working on the good habits, like, you know, I think would be like hot pools. I just love hot pools.
Yeah.
Just going there, relaxing in hot and cold.
Yeah, we're so lucky
something.
here in Christchurch to have hot pools, like salt water, not chlorine, by the ocean. We can literally soak in warm water, even if it's 2 degrees out there. And there's a sauna.
Yeah,
have you been in there?
Yeah, I've been. Love it. Yeah, we never used to do that back home.
Just a window out onto the ocean. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm pondering about this whole 30-day challenge idea. I haven't got a clear concept of how I want to make the process and the scale happen.
Yeah.
But since you helped me developing something complex in my head to something simple that people are now enjoying all over the world, I will probably come to you and say, how can we make this happen if I get stuck? And then you're like, well, which tools do you want to use? And how do you want to set the people up? Or how do you want to support accountability buddies? I'll mull on that for a bit more. Yeah.
Awesome. I am excited. Like even the idea of that doing without the reward seems like a reward. But
well, guess what? This is now your first template, and you get to take it home. And you know, I write with pencil these days, so you can erase what you don't need from me and replace it in fountain pen with your own goals and rewards.
Yeah, that's great. This has been delightful.
We got a deal. And if you are slack, don't contact me. Contact James Clear, because he works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll just make sure he has some thoughts about my journals.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, this is so cool. I really loved how much we just explored stories. I didn't even get a chance to dive into percentages, you know, or full-on data points on your personality, because they just come through in who you help, who do you support, who do you learn from, like all these little stories and cues that tell me what is important to you, what are your values. You already mentioned quite a few of those things throughout the interview, like who you love to support, which places or leaders in Christchurch resonate with you. Just in general, for whoever watches this, maybe you know, this year, next year, whatever, who should contact you? Who do you want more in your circle? Like which organizations or kind of causes do you want to call in more? Collaborators? What would that be? Yeah,
I think it's just founders or individuals who has this crazy, mad ideas to bring them. Like, you know, I think people are dreaming a lot, and this is a time for us to, with the use of technology, to be able to bring those out to the world. So those people and organizations who is like, you know, who might have resources or who might not. But regardless of that, there's so many ways that you can save resources within their existing stuff, or formulate a new stuff that can help innovate or anything. And those are the organizations that I want to work with, and who wants to care for others or so. And those, like, you know, organizations, founders, individuals, collectives, like, you know, who's working in between art, tech, and equity. Like, you know, I think I really care about the collectives and communities as well. Like, you know, so which I don't have names, but these are the whole set of people that I am looking forward to work with in the future.
It's so nice how you said again art and technology, and that was also the thing that helped with, is it Arorangi?
Yeah, Arorangi.
To really utilize technology that supports us doing these things, you know, capturing those stories and sending them to whoever wants to watch them at whatever time suits them, and really use art and technology as something that brings these communities closer. And that's
Yeah.
where you come in with
Yeah.
your whiteboard and your
Yeah.
Notion spreadsheets everywhere.
I think people separate the creative and art and then technology separately, and that's how most of the organizations is working. So I think of myself as a creative technologist. I can look into the creative stuff like artistic, like mediums and stuff, and also technology platforms and and architecture, and to be able to bring that in different ways is my core strength. Because I'm not thinking from one lens, I'm thinking from multiple lenses, and that becomes a holistic way it comes through. So I'm happy some of these projects came aligned with me.
You called them in?
I called them in, yeah. Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, just the right stories connect with the right people.
Exactly.
Okay, so where would they find you? Do you have a website, LinkedIn, Facebook? Where do you feel is the most natural communications channel for you?
I think I'm going to publish my website, which will be seku.nz, seku.nz, this week. And I'm easily available through email, hola@seku.nz, or my profile is in Instagram. Is also really good. I've had companies reach out to me on Instagram as well. So Sekurious, SEKUXRIOUS, which you'll see down. Thanks to Kai for editing that into it. But you can find me in those places.
Awesome. So that will be a really nice platform for them to watch your video, hear the stories, see your CV, because I put it all together in a blog post. They can read up a summary, see your CV, find your contact details there, and maybe even become your accountability buddy, because I'm not sure if James Clear is available today.
Yes.
To kick you in the butt when you're not journaling.
I'm going to take him for the next 30 days.
Yeah. Put him as your screensaver for the next 30 days. So every time you open your phone, James stares at you and you go, oh, Jen promised me to do this.
Yes, I will. Now I
it.
have to do it.
Yeah, sounds
But this
good.
has been great. Thank you for doing all you do and bringing the best stories and journeys and and self-discovery of every people that I'm able to see through. And this is such an exceptional work. And if we had done it more so in the early days of people, it would have saved a lot of time and I wouldn't call it wasted time, but it's still like there's something in it that you can see who you are as a person as early as possible. Makes the journey so much better.
It just streamlines it, I think. Yeah, but like you said, you have vocabulary to communicate, and that's what needs to happen between people. And if I cannot communicate to you what is important to me, well, how are you sure that we want to collaborate, create something together? Our values might be totally opposite, and then it will be all these friction points that you said, and you've learned it, after managing and navigating living with 20 others. So thanks so much, Séku, for coming on the Human CV.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.